Greetings, fellow book lovers, and welcome back to Colin's Corner. Today we will be doing another tag video. I was tagged by RJ Gibson over at RJ Reads to do the Led Zeppelin Book Tag Challenge. Now, I have to be honest, I am a Led Zeppelin fan. I enjoy their music, but I am not like a diehard fan, so I don't know this album inside out like a lot of people I've seen do this tag do. But hey, I got tagged. We're going to do it. The answers seemed fun. But first, before we get into the video, I'm going to go over the answer for the last Comedy with Colin segment where I told you guys the joke, why don't eggs tell each other jokes? The answer, they'd crack each other up. All right, so without anything further, let's get into the first question. Question one is good times, bad times. Name an author you've read a great book and a bad book from. My answer is going to be Alex Michaelides. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is a psychological thriller writer, and I read his first book, The Silent Patient. I loved that book. I thought the twist was amazing. I was really excited when I heard that he was coming out with another book. And so I read it. It's called The Maidens, and it did not work at all for me. I don't know if it was the setting. It was kind of like a dark academia setting, The Maidens was, and that really wasn't vibing with me that well. So it could just be that, but it, I don't know. It was a real letdown. Like I was not. I read the whole book and I was not engaged at all. I kept hoping that I was gonna be drawn to the characters and get engaged in the story, and it never happened for me. Question two is, Babe, I'm gonna leave you. Name an author you've outgrown or have no desire to read anymore. This might be a little recency bias because I just read one of these books with my daughter, but the answer is going to be Nancy Drew, with the author being Carolyn Keene. Now, I was excited to go back to these books because I remember being so entertained by these stories as a young kid, and I thought that it was going to be great to go back to it, but like, I don't know, I was really struggling to be engaged as I was reading out loud to her. And I know this is like not totally not my demographic for my age demographic at all, but it was kind of a bummer because I was excited to go back to these. Some of the books that I've read with her have checked out. Like when I went back and read the series of unfortunate events with her, I loved that. That was so much fun. And I thought maybe the Nancy Drew books would be similar to that, but they just weren't for me. Question three is, you shook me. Name a book that shocked you with something unexpected. My answer for this is going to be The Drawing of the Three. This is the second Dark Tower book. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to go into spoilers. However, something happens in the beginning of this book to our main character that completely blew my mind because it was something that affected his main skill set. And when this happened, I was like, is this real? Like, is this how this book opens? Because what the heck is he going to do? So that blew me away. And I mean, the drawing of the three as a whole blew me away. But the way that this book opened, I was like, oh my god! Like I can't believe King did this to the main character. Question four is dazed and confused. So it is, name a book or author you don't understand the hype for. Um, this might bum some people out because I know this book was really popular like a year and a half ago, but I'm gonna have to go with The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I really wanted to like this book. This book was blowing up on Instagram, blowing up on BookTube, and so I downloaded it on audio. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe the narrator wasn't clicking for me, but I think honestly that the main thing was I never felt connected to the main character that we follow. I believe his name is Linus, and I just couldn't get behind the character. And I think that kept me at bay in terms of just allowing myself to get immersed in this story. It wasn't poorly written. I just don't think that it was for me necessarily. But I know this book was so popular, and I'm probably going to bum a couple people out with this answer, but that's my answer. Question 5 is your time is going to come. Name a book that's been on your TBR for more than a year. The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. The first book in the First Law trilogy has been on my TBR for a while now. I actually own the entire trilogy. I bought it a long time ago, and I do not know why I haven't picked it up, but I just haven't. I think I'm going to love it. There's no real reason why I haven't picked it up, but that's it. I need to get to Joe Abercrombie because so many people love him. His character work is highly, highly regarded as being some of the best in the fantasy genre, and I love good character work, so I'm going to need to get to The Blade Itself soon. Question 6 is Black Mountainside. Name a book with an unusual or unconventional setting. My answer for this is easy. It's definitely going to be Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This book I don't want to talk too much about because it's extremely hard to talk about without spoilers, but it's suffice to say that this is the most unique setting I've ever read in a book. And I still to this day don't think that I fully understand it, but I loved it. Like I remember being partway through this book, maybe like a quarter of the way through, and I was hitting people up in Discord saying like, I have no idea what's going on, but I love it. So yeah, this is an easy Piranesi answer for me. Question 7 is communication breakdown. Name a book you buddy read with someone who you completely disagreed with. Not to be boring, but I really don't think I have an answer for this one. I haven't done a lot of buddy reads on the channel yet. Uh, I've done a few with like my mom and some buddies outside of BookTube, but I've never starkly disagreed with somebody on any of my buddy reads. So I guess the answer to this one is just still to be determined. I'm sure that it will happen at some point, but I don't really have an answer for this one at this time. Question 8 is I Can't Quit You, Baby. Name an auto-buy author. Again, I'm going to be boring, but my answer for this is Stephen King. Uh, King has hardly ever let me down, and his writing just kind of feels like home to me. And also, as a collector of his books, I pretty much just pre order any of his new announced releases as soon as they're available for pre order. So, definitely is going to be Stephen King for this. Question 9 is how many more times? Name a books or series you keep coming back to even after you've DNF'd it. I don't really DNF very often, so I guess the only one that I can really think of recently is I downloaded the audiobook for Full Throttle by Joe Hill because I wanted to try some Joe Hill, and I kind of just petered out on it. Like I just wasn't really all that interested in the stories. I believe it's a short story collection. The first like 3 or 4 stories didn't really grip me, um, so I never finished it, but I do want to go back to Joe Hill as an author. I know that he's got some books that people really like, and I'll be interested to see how I feel about some of his other books. So I'm gonna have to say, as an author, Joe Hill is somebody that I DNF'd one of his books, but I definitely want to go back to try. All right, guys, that wraps up all my questions for the Led Zeppelin book tag. I want to again thank RJ for tagging me, and now I am going to tag Christopher Navo over from the next chapter. So Christopher, you're gonna have to let me know when you make this video. I'll be very excited to see your answers. That's gonna wrap things up for me today, guys. And now it is time for everybody's favorite part of the video, comedy with Colin. Today's joke: how many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? If you think you know the answer, drop it down in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, guys, please consider giving it a like. If you're enjoying the content so far, please consider subscribing because it really helps the channel out and it is greatly appreciated. I hope you guys are all enjoying what you're currently reading. And remember, you're always welcome in Colin's Corner.